How come the price of gas changes so dramatically over the years? Gas prices are based on political and environmental factors, but mostly political. Countries and companies will intentionally increase or decrease the production of oil for the sole purpose of changing the price for political and economic reasons. The oil and gas sectors are as volatile as they are essential, much like a keystone species in an ecosystem. Any slight shift can cascade through the market. Besides the geopolitical chess game affecting production levels, you also have the organization of the petroleum exporting countries OPEC setting quotas which can shrink or swell the supply almost overnight. Add in natural disasters, disrupting refineries or distribution, or even rumors of technological advancements affecting future demand, and you'll see the perfect recipe for price instability. The ripple effect is felt at gas stations worldwide, often more acutely in countries with fewer reserves or those more reliant on imports. So next time you're filling up and notice a difference at the pump, remember it's probably the result of a dozen global events you never even heard about. Some of the reasons why there's a dramatic change in oil price are global supply and demand on oil, currency changes, etc. Hoping that it changes and becomes more stable. US is pumping enough oil that OPEC has lost most of the control they enjoyed in the past. Gas or petrol. Basically, oil is priced on the marginal barrel and demand is not very elastic. If total supply is just over demand, the price can drop dramatically, and a small shortfall leads to large price rises. We've seen oil go from 10 to 150 a barrel and back, and this then feeds through to the price of petrol. Seasonal mix, refining capacity, world events especially in energy-specific areas, storms that disrupt Gulf facilities, taxes, national inventory of gasoline, national inventory of crude oil, demand for gasoline. In Tanzania, 1 GBP a liter, you guys pay more. It's a vital resource with a complex supply chain. Issues with oil fields, shipping tanker, refineries can all result in shortages and projected shortages, and people who use gasoline petrol generally have no alternative resource to replace it with without huge capital expense. There is currently a large stock. Some blame crude, other blame refineries. All blame cahoots. Price gouging. In America, gas used to rise or fall a few cents a day depending on market conditions or global events. Now it still falls a few cents, but it will rise 30 or 40 cents overnight, sometimes even within a couple hours. This only happens in one direction. Saudi Arabia's spare capacity. I have not been inside a gas station store in forever. Speculators drive prices to the point where angry consumers quit non-essential driving and look for alternatives like EVs, public transit, CSR pooling, etc. Acad demand destruction. A portion of the Foxcresives, who traditionally object to such price gouging, join forces with the openly pro-corporation right to support intolerable gas prices cause as a way of pandering to anti-car extremists. Every time someone farts near an oil, well, prices go up. When incumbent politicians feel the heat from an understandably furious public, they open the strategic reserves to push prices down. Beside what everybody wrote on here about oil productions and wars, you have to remember that half of the petrol prices you pay in Europe is taxes. Traded on the commodities market should actually be 1.22. I'm an American, but I'm going to try and answer this with your UK perspective in mind. I'm all for criticism and insight if I miss something or get something wrong. I invest heavily in international commodity markets in addition to my American investments, so I've learned a lot over the decade or so. But I am humbled all the time by the vast amount I still have to learn. That being said, crude pricing is the largest factor. The North Sea Brent crude benchmark is crucial for UK petrol costs. Global events impacting oil supply drive price shifts. On the issue of refining, UK refineries turning crude oil into petrol face operational costs. Maintenance or issues can cause temporary price spikes. As is true in most non-American countries, oil is traded in US dollars. Specific to the UK, a weaker pound against the dollar makes importing oil more expensive, pushing up petrol prices. Specific to the UK end consumer like you, fuel duty and VAT make up a huge chunk of what you pay at the pump. Government changes to these taxes significantly affect prices and have been happening frequently. Remember to keep in mind retailer margins as well. Supermarkets and petrol stations set their own profit margins there, leading to some local variation in prices. Regionally, it's logistics, so location to location. It's largely a matter of what it takes to get gas to your spot in the world. It's not odd to see a 3x swing because of this. On the grand scale though, it is unfortunately a heavily exploited and manipulated market space. It gets tied into political dick waving, wars, sanctions, trade negotiations, everything, so it's kind of a messed up system. It'll be nice once we finally get away from fossil fuels for transport. But everyone's dragging their heels because everyone's still trying to make money from petroleum. Supply and demand. The market is one of supply and demand, and the market will destroy any system that tries to change that condition, especially for needed resources on a national level, of which most are wasted anyways. N.S. When there is less supply of something, the price goes up. People use less or switch to a similar alternative until supply equals demand. Oil gas has what is called inelastic demand. You can't change to a different car every time gas goes up, you still have to get to work, etc. It takes a large price increase before people change their behavior and reduce demand. After the huge gas price spike in 2008, the morning commute into Boston was fantastic. We produce very close to the amount that we consume. Demand is also inelastic because there aren't immediate substitutes. If you have to get to work tomorrow, gas is 100 gal, y'all pay it because what's the alternative? The huge downward swings also happen because there are competing philosophies within OPEC. Saudi Arabia wants oil to be expensive, but not so expensive that we switch. Small countries with low reserves just want it as high as possible. I remember when I got my first car in the 90s, gas prices barely changed. It was a set price for months at a time. Now it seems it changes on a daily basis, sometimes a few times within the day. I think people are getting frustrated with the nonsense. America has enough oil to supply the entire world for the next 100 years. Why can't we? Politics.